Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Chris Brown, RFID Program Director with TSC, formerly TSC Printronics, so you may know some of our printers or you may know me under the Printronics name, but as of January 1st, we are going only by the TSC name. I'm here today with one of our partners, Mr. Jose Dagher from Xerafy. Jose?
I'm Jose Daher, Head of Channel Sales America at Xerafy. Thank you for joining us. We're the leading provider of RFID tags and labels trusted by Fortune 500 companies worldwide. With over 50 patents globally, we have established ourselves as innovators in the RFID industry. Our products are used by customers in over 75 countries, reflecting our extensive reach and expertise.
Okay, thank you, Jose. And now up on the slide here, you can see our agenda for today. First, Jose is going to go through an overview of all of their new tags. They've just released a new lineup, an updated portfolio of their on-metal tags. Jose is going to go through those. And then he's going to go through some applications showcasing particular tags from that lineup. Then I will go through our printer lineup, giving an overview of all of our RFID printers. We will actually print and code a label, and we'll put it on some metal asset and demonstrate reading that tag out in the field. And finally, we'll finish up with a Q&A session.
What exactly are RFID labels? These labels are not merely simple stickers. Let me highlight 7 key features you need to know. Printable. Of course, they come with a white face to be printed by Service Bureau or by your team in the field using the TSC RFID printer. We will see how you can print text, a barcode, a QR code, and more. Encoding. The TSC RFID printer is doing a terrific job at turning your label into a unique ID for your assets and inventory so that you can track and trace an item label. Versatile. They need to work on metal and on plastic to work with a diversity of assets without compromising read range. Flexible. These labels can bend and fit on uneven surfaces. Stickers. They come with an industry 3M adhesive fast to slap on when you are on the field and strong enough to stay on. Durable. Rough enough to withstand day-to-day moisture, tear, scratches, and more. Standard. They are RAIN RFID, impassive UHF RFID frequencies in order to work with any readers and systems already out there, now and in the future. That's why the Xerafy metal skin labels come in. They have been around since 2012. They are more than ordinary labels. In fact, I'm tempted to call them flexible RFID tags owing to their wide adoption for asset tracking and inventory management. And we have made significant progress to our metal skin series in 2024. What started as a range of 4 labels has now expanded to 19 options. Here what's new. More chip options from leading providers like Impinj, R6P, and NXP, U8, U9. New small sizes with our smallest measuring just 36 by 6 millimeters, making it the most compact in the market. New Max labels offering market-leading reach range of up to 19 meters. Support for more materials including metal, plastic, and even liquids. Design, slim format, and HF compatibility. Let's dive deeper into the metal skin series. We have introduced different variants, expanding from our original 4 standard products, Mercury, Delta, Platinum, and Titanium. Each of these offers a range of sizes, chip options, and features suitable for different materials and specialty needs. The number in the product name refers to the label length, Mercury 86 Max, means the label is 86 millimeters long. Now, let's look at the Mercury label. It comes in 4 size variations, and it is the largest in our metal skin series. Because of its size, it offers the longest read range, reaching up to 19 meters when it attaches to metal surfaces. The Mercury label is incredibly durable. With a design and long read range, that makes it ideal for tracking work in progress, inventory, even in outdoor environment. It's waterproof with IP68 rating. These allow for efficient monitoring of assets in challenging environments. Now, let's talk about the Delta label, available in two size variations. The standard size is 80 by 20 millimeters. One key feature is its flexibility, which allows it to adapt to curved surfaces with ease. The Delta label is particularly suited for tracking, maintenance, repair, and overhaul, MRO parts and components. Its versatility makes it an excellent choice for a range of industrial applications. Moving on, the Platinum label comes in 7 different sizes and variations, ranging from 55 to 60 and 64 millimeters in length. This makes it the most universal label in our metal skin series, suitable for a wide range of assets and inventory applications. The Platinum series doesn't just offer different sizes, it also has unique features. Take the Platinum 60 flag, for instance. Its flag design allows the label to stand out even when attached to assets. Then there's the Platinum 60 tamper, which is the same size but comes with tamper-proof capabilities. It loses its RFID function if somebody tries to peel it off. The Platinum label is particularly well suited for automated warehouse environments where efficient tracking of assets is crucial. The Titanium lineup includes some unique designs, such as the Titanium 25 Lasso, which has a slim tail that can attach to hard-to-tag assets like rings or jewelry. There's also the Titanium 25 HF, feature a round design for HF applications, making ideal for retail and other use cases. The Titanium label is a fantastic solution for tracking IT assets and managing data center equipment, ensuring accurate and efficient asset tracking in environments with limited space.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, back to me. I'm now going to give you an overview of our RFID printer family. As you can see on the slide there, we have a very broad and deep portfolio. And the idea is that regardless of your application, your specific requirements, or in the case of today's webinar, the type of tags that you're going to be working with, like on metal tags, we have a printer model that will fit the needs. Now, if we look at this next slide, this is another view of our RFID printer family, but in a table format that shows some basic specs. The key specs that we want to look at today are those that are highlighted in yellow. So you can see the T6000E series printers. Those can work with on-metal tags, and they allow a media thickness up to 2.2 millimeters. And then also today here we have the T4000 series, which works with on-metals as well, but it has a media thickness spec of 1.2 millimeters. Because we're working with on-metal tags today, I have two specific TSC RFID printers with me. On my left, I have our T4000 RFID printer, where I have preloaded and pre-calibrated the Platinum 60 tamper tags from Xerafy. And on my right, I have my T6000E RFID printer, where I will be loading, calibrating, and setting up for you the Xerafy Titanium 48 liquid tags. Okay, now I'm going to load the media, so I take my roll of labels, I simply place it over the hanger bar in the back. You will notice that there is a media feed guide bar here that folds up, and I move it in until it's just gently brushing the edge of the label roll. That helps keep the labels in place as they're feeding through. Next, there is another media feed guide bar right here, and that has a collar that slides in and out. We're going to run our label material over that bar, slide the collar in so it's also gently brushing the label material. Continue on. Now we need to go underneath these two rollers here. Going to run the label material under there. There is another media feed guide right here. It unscrews and then it slides in. When we get our labels in place, we're going to slide that in to rub against the edge of the media. Now I need to go under the print head here, but there is also a media fork, a media feed guide fork, but that's also the sensor bar. And we need to align the sensor eye so that it is over the gap between the labels. So we're going to run it under the fork. Here you can see the media sensor fork, and I am pointing at that little black triangle, which is the location of the actual sensor eye. So I want to position that black triangle over the gap between labels. This sensor fork, there's a handle behind and below it, which allows me to move it in and out. So I'm just going to move it in and out until I have it nicely placed over the gap between labels. I can then continue on. The T6000E and the T4000 both have this magnetic front door. If I pop it open, it allows me to much more easily load the labels under the encoding antenna. As soon as I have them placed through there, I can close up the door and close the print head, and I'm ready to print and encode. Okay, I have loaded the tags now, but now I need to calibrate them. And I'm going to run through two calibrations essentially and some basic printer settings. The two calibrations are your non-RFID calibration, which is a standard step with all barcode label non-RFID printers. And then the additional calibration will be the RFID calibration, which is of course specific to RFID. So my printer is currently online, but I need to take it offline. I do that by pressing the green pause button. And I'm going to run these calibrations and do the basic printer settings using our wizards. So I'm going to scroll to the left to wizard, enter, and I'm going to run two wizards, the printer setup wizard and the RFID wizard. First, I'm going to run the printer setup wizard, select my language. I'm going to go through most of these screens quite quickly. You can set your date and your time here. You can set your LCD brightness. What is the media width in inches or metric? Am I going to be running direct thermal or thermal transfer? We're going to be using thermal transfer, a ribbon today, because we're working with these on-metal tags, which have a synthetic face stock. I'm going to keep the batch counter disabled. Install the media, position the sensor. We've already done all this when we loaded the media. Am I going to be running labels with a gap or a black mark? In theory, I could change this either way to black mark or gap, but today we're using labels with gap. Continue on, position the sensor. We have done that already. That was the little black triangle sensor eye. What is my label width? It is approximately 2.0 inches. Good enough. Install the ribbon, that is already done. Close the print head, already done. And we get to the all-important step of, we call it auto calibrate. This is the non-RFID media calibration. I'm going to press enter and a few labels will feed out. And I should get a green screen that will pop up very quickly here and tell me I have successfully calibrated the media. Continue on with my wizard. Do I want to print a test? Not today. We will do actual live printing and encoding. And now I have completed the wizard. So I'm going to exit that. And now I'm going to go over to the RFID wizard and I'm going to run that. And the important step here will be the RFID calibration. Some of these steps are repeats from the previous wizard. That's okay, we're just going to skip through those. Eventually, we will probably combine these two wizards into one, so you will only run one wizard. Auto calibrate, that's the step we just did, the non-RFID calibration. This is the T6000E. This printer has two possible encoding antennas you can use. One we call the external, that is above the media feed path, and we are going to use that today because we are working with on-metal tags. Encoding the on-metal tags from above is more effective and reliable than encoding them from below. The other encoding antenna we could use, we call it internal. and that is below the media feed. We're not going to use that because, again, we're using on metal tags. So I select my antenna to external. Next, I get to the all-important step of RFID calibrate. I'm going to press enter. This normally takes, between 1.5 and 5 minutes, depending on your label dimensions and the inlay placement. I'm using a fairly small label today, so this will go quite quickly, maybe 2 minutes. We have now finished the RFID calibration. We get a green screen that's telling us it completed successfully, and you get some information on this screen as well. I'm going to press enter to exit, and I'm going to continue with my wizard, which is essentially now finished. I have now completed both of the calibrations, the non-RFID calibration and the RFID calibration. I am ready to take the printer back online so that I can now start sending it print and encode jobs. I'm going to press the green pause button to toggle back online. And you will notice when I press that button, the printer asks me if I want to save these new settings in what we call a configuration. So the TSC RFID printers allow you to save up to 8 different configurations. Configuration basically equates to a label type or a label construction. I can also custom name these configurations. So I might custom name this the Xerafy Metal Skin Titanium 48 Liquid. Anytime I want to use that particular label type in the future, I just select that configuration, load the media, and I'm ready to go. I do not need to repeat the calibrations. In this case, I'm just going to save it in what we call the active configuration. I press enter, and now you can see that the printer is ready to receive print and encode jobs. Now we have completed the calibrations and taken the printer back online, but you'll notice that the 2 calibrations used about 10 to 15 labels. And these are relatively expensive labels. We don't want to waste them. So all I'm going to do is open up the print head and manually rewind the labels so that I can use those labels as fresh. Just rewind the labels and close the print head back up. And now I do not waste those labels. I'm going to be printing and encoding the Xerafy Metal Skin Titanium on our T6000E printer. Because it is a very tiny label, I will also be using a 600 DPI. That's the print head resolution, which is quite high, so I can get a very nice print on the very small label. And this is the RFID dialog with the Rain Alliance ISO setup. And this is the bartender print dialog. And now I'm going to hit print. So now I'm going to hit print, and we'll print 5 copies. That's printing and encoding. So here you can see the labels after they have printed and encoded. And we used a 600 DPI print head resolution because this is a very tiny asset tracking tag. I'm going to peel off just one label so you can actually see how small those particular labels are. And hopefully we can focus in on the print quality there, and you can see the serial numbers that I have printed, but that's also what has been encoded. And here we have the T4000 loaded up with some Xerafy Metal Skin Platinum 60 tamper tags, and we're going to print and encode a few of these, and we're actually going to use these for some audio-visual tracking purposes. So the value that we are encoding to the tag is the same value as in the barcode, as a barcode backup, and in the human readable. So here we've applied a Xerafy Metal Skin Platinum 60 tamper tag to a sample IT asset. We have printed the barcode with the value in case the RFID does not work. So barcode is very commonly used as a backup. We also have the human readable backup. But encoded to the tag, we have the value that we want to associate with this particular asset. Using a mobile RFID reader or fixed RFID readers, I can quickly take inventory of my IT assets and or locate a specific asset. So if I just start the reader, boom, I can see that I can very quickly read the value in the RFID tag. And I can even confirm that it's the correct value for that particular IT asset. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And now we're going to switch over to the live Q&A. Thank you. Okay, we have some questions here. And by the way, you can put questions into either the chat or the questions dialogues. You should see those options up in the upper right of your screen. And we do have a few coming in already here. The first question I see is, what is the thickness? I presume you meant one of the specific tags we were working with, but I can point out here also there is a materials section in the top right. If you click on that, you will see a handout that describes and gives the basic technical specs of the Xerafy tags. So most of their tags are a little different one to the other. They tend to range in, Jose, correct me here, but between 1 and 1.2 millimeters thick, in that range. But if you're talking about a specific tag, you can look at that handout and get the actual precise spec for that tag. Okay.
You're correct.
Okay. Here's another one. I watched another one of your webinars, and you talked about encoding the PC word. Do your printers automatically encode the PC word? I think that one is for me, because I do talk a lot about the encoding the PC word. To answer the question, no, we do not automatically encode the PC word, but you indeed must encode the PC word. This is true for any RAIN encoding device, whether it's a printer or a handheld. Think of the printer as just a dumb encoding device. So it will encode whatever you tell it to encode, and that means that you must tell it to encode the PC word. Now, we used Bartender here today, and I can tell you that a couple of years ago, Bartender did put PC word encoding into their software. So Bartender does theoretically take care of that for you. Okay. Next question. Are there high temp, high humidity tag options? Looking for a solution to use in lumber dry kilns. Jose, I think that would be for you.
We have is a large selection. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yep.
We have a wide selection of RFID labels that work well in off and on metal. I would like to know more the specifics regarding is what is the use case and the temp to explain more about is the survival window or and the operational reach range while is working in these conditions. You can check my email, jose.daher@xerafy.com, and more additional questions can be, regarding this subject can be answered.
Okay. Next question. The MRP tag will be printed and encoded by the printer. So what is appropriate thickness of the MRT tag is determined. I don't know what MRP means, but I think the question is, well, I'll twist the question a bit. So if you remember when we looked at the basic specs of the printers, the T6000E can handle a maximum thickness of 2.2 millimeters, and the T4000 can handle a maximum thickness of 1.2 millimeters. So you look at the tag thickness spec and you just check it against the printer spec. A note of caution here, you do need to add in the thickness of the release liner. So if the tag says it's 1.0 millimeters thick, with the liner, that'll be about 1.1, 1.2. Um, but you would look at the tag thickness spec, add in a theoretical liner thickness, and then check the printer spec for the max thickness the printer can handle, and that would give you combinations that you could use. Um, in general, in theory, the thicker the tag, the better it's going to work on metal objects, but you can't always use an extremely thick tag. So I hope I've answered that question. Okay. Uh, where are Xerafy labels sold?
That question is probably for me. They're
Yes.
sold globally.
Okay.
Uh, Xerafy RFID labels are manufactured in China, and we produce them in our factory in Shanghai and ship it worldwide, including the Americas, Europe, Middle East, and Oceania, Australia, New Zealand.
Okay. Now there's a related question. Where can we buy them? Um, so let's say let's cover end users and resellers. If I'm an end user, where would I get them?
If you're an end user, and the end user can be based either in the Americas, Europe, Middle East, we are happy to connect our end users to our distributor, reseller, or an integrator channels. So then we can just work together into the requirement, and because there are challenges, every country, sometimes they have is different type of challenges to import the goods into the country. So we can provide is a large selection of channels or authorizes distributors in the country where the end user needs support.
Okay, so what I heard was if I'm an end user and I'm interested in getting your tags, I would contact Xerafy and you would then connect them with a local systems integrator or RFID solution provider, and you would figure out the right tags, and that local partner would supply the tags. Is that correct?
Yes, Chris.
Okay. And then additionally to that, it says, do you support the two-tier distribution model, which I think means the traditional model for AIDC products like label printers, barcode scanners, and so on. So state this question another way: where does a reseller get them?
The reseller get it from us directly.
Okay,
So we do support that here.
okay, uh, okay. Here's the classic question: what is the maximum distance that the RFID reader can be away from the Xerafy metal skin tags? I'll start this and then I'll pass it over to Jose. Um, this is one of those questions where there are almost an infinite number of variables, like what is the specific metal on the item, what reader are you using, what antenna are you using, what reader settings are you using, what are the other items in the environment, what other electromagnetic fields are in the environment, and so on. So there's no clear answer to this. However, and over to Jose here, if you look at the tag data sheet that is in the handout section, Xerafy does provide sort of a basic reference spec for read distance. Is that correct, Jose?
Yes. So we provide is a product guide and an application guide. Before choosing the correct or the suitable RFID label or hard tag, there are certain variables that need to be known, as what is the asset material, what shape is it, how much real estate do we have, and of course, like what this is being addressed in this moment as the reach range. Our product guide provides a high level of support where we can narrow down or shortlist the different RFID labels or hard tags that can be chosen for that specific application, as well as operational temp, survival temp, and others. So yes, the product guide can support such such requirement.
Okay. Related to our earlier question, where are these tags sold? Here is, does Xerafy stock any of these labels in the US, or must everything come from China? Meaning, if somebody orders the tags, are they going to come directly from China, or do you have inventory in the US?
We have is a very limited inventory in the U.S. For samples, and we have is a handful of partners based in the U.S. that stock is inventory, popular or the most popular products in the US. So we need to, there are products like they're very specialized that they are shipped from the factory, but as well, we Xerafy our lead time. No project come and is produced overnight. So we have enough visibility, right, of your project. Our lead time and production can be, it's just spectacular. It's pretty good. So our lead times are very competitive too if they need to be shipped from the factory.
Okay. Uh, every time we try to use a tag with Ucode 9 chip, and I'm guessing that's because Jose mentioned that some of your tags can be provided with Ucode 9 chip. Every time we try to use a tag with that chip, we can't lock it properly. Why can't we lock these tags? Um, this is kind of a tangent question to the webinar, but I happen to know about this. So Ucode 9 chips can lock permanently. They only support a very simple locking structure, we'll call it. The tags are either totally open or locked permanently. We call it whole chip permalock. The reason you have troubles locking these tags is because whole chip permalock requires a special locking syntax. And if you're using something like Bartender or Nice Label, CodeSoft, those software programs do not natively support that special syntax that's needed for these chips. So when they send down a job that tells the tag to lock, that syntax won't work with that chip. What we have done in our printers is if we receive the normal locking syntax for all the other kinds of chips out there, we recognize that the tag is using a Ucode 9 chip, and we will automatically convert the syntax to the correct syntax for Ucode 9. So, long answer, but if you're loading Ucode 9 chip tags into our printers and want to lock them, really lock them permanently, our printers should do it invisibly for you. It should be taken care of by the printer. I hope I answered that. Okay, here's somebody wants us to reach out to them. We will do that. Somebody asked about the high temp, high humidity. Xerafy, you guys are working with Assign, the chip maker Assign, on some new sensor tags. Is that correct?
Yes, we in our product portfolio, we have a selection of sensors. It's the Sense family is how it's labeled and can be found in our site. Yes,
Okay.
these use Assign sensors.
Okay. So Assign is one of the tag chip companies, and they have special tag chips that have sensor functionality. Um, I should point out here that there are some special requirements when you're encoding those tags. You need to toggle certain bits, set certain parts of the encoding to, what was the term, to configure the sensor, and we can do that with our printers. So as part of the print job. Okay. How do we get samples of these tags, Jose?
Um, the process is pretty quite simple and pretty fast. I'm based in lovely Minnesota. We request is our prospects to provide an UPS, FedEx, or DHL account. We engage in a short call just to determine the requirements and needs. We provide is a selection of what is our recommendation. If special needs or requirements as if the RFID tag will be involved into with certain solvents, chemicals, we engage with our engineering team, and samples are shipped in less than 24 hours using ground services, which will take probably in the US 4 to 5 business days.
Okay, so contact Jose. Okay. Next question here. How many multiple label printing in single commands simultaneously? I think I understand the question. When you print and encode these tags with an RFID printer, it's in this sense, it's no different than printing a standard variable data barcode label. So in one print job, you can print and encode essentially as many labels as you want. You can have jobs of 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. I think in some printers there is a limit, but it's some absurd number like a million, something like that to a particular print job. So within any one print job, you can print and encode an unlimited number of labels. Oh, it's single commands. You can print and encode an unlimited number of labels in your job. Those labels can be encoded with variable data, each and every label. Sometimes print jobs do encode the same value to more than one tag because you might put a label on multiple sides of a box, for example. I guess another way to look at this is, can you have labels running through the printers that have more than one label across? Meaning, can you encode two labels at one time? And the answer is no. You have to go up to very big, expensive machinery to have the multi-lane capability. But no commodity RFID printer supports multiple labels across the web, across the label roll. Okay, I hope I answered that. Are there any case studies for automotive upholstery? There are case studies for automotive, and one of those that I'm aware of did include upholstery, automotive upholstery, but the case study was not specifically about the upholstery. I do know that we have our printers in an automotive upholstery manufacturer down in Mexico, but we have not put together a case study on that. Jose, do you have any relevant case studies?
Um, all our case studies can be found in our site. Specifically for the one that you mentioned, we haven't built or produced one, but we have a client who has implemented in such. So we have the expertise through our channel and we can provide more information on a one-on-one basis.
Okay. Uh, are there any special recommendations for large memory chips? I see, or I think of two kinds of large memory chips. There is the new generation of chips that have a lot of memory in memory bank 01, which is the EPC memory, but that's limited by the specs to 496 bits. So there is a new generation of chips out there. What is it? The Impinj uh, 780, I think it is. Uh, there's another one from NXP 9XE, I believe it is. And they're both fine. They're both great. Uh, from the printer side, doesn't matter, we can handle that. Then the other bucket of large memory chips that I think of would be those chips that have a lot of memory in user memory, like the aviation parts tags, where you want to encode actual database records into the tag. There are some printer considerations there. You need to support, firstly, high memory encoding, which not all printers do. We do. It's ideal if you support the block write command, meaning you can encode larger chunks of memory at one time. We now support that. That's relatively new. And then there are some block permalock commands, I believe it are, some locking commands for blocks of memory that you also should support, and we supported those a long time ago. Some brands of chips there. Let's see, Quanray, Foodon Micro, and we work with all of them. And I think Quanray is probably the most popular and most common, but that's the very high memory in user memory. Are you subject to or will you be impacted by impending tariffs? We can both answer this. Jose, I think this is more relevant for you.
Could you repeat the question again?
Oh, are you subject to or will you be impacted by the impending tariffs? How are you going to handle
Uh,
the tariffs?
yeah, so for this is not something new for Xerafy since we still is we already have is a company that produce in China. We already have is an existing and all the tariff and we perform is transfer warehouse transfer, and we are Incoterms for the US based customers are FOB Minneapolis, US. So this is completely transparent, and we are looking into with our logistic team how to handle the next steps with the current administration changes.
Okay, so you take care of the tariffs or pending tariffs internally by shipping it to your office in Minneapolis first, and then from there, there should be no tariffs to customers in the US.
Yes.
Canada, I don't know how that works.
Exactly. Same with with every country is different. For example, with Brazil, the import tariff is like 85%. So is this is a webinar that now not just U.S. based customers are following, right? So each case is different. But with Canada, I don't think that there's is import fees, so we ship direct
Okay,
from the factory.
from the fact. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we take care of the tariff and we don't put that in our clients.
Okay. And then on the printer side, our RFID printers are made in Taiwan, so they are not currently subject to any tariffs for import into the United States, or I shouldn't say any, but any new tariffs for import into the United States. For shipment from our US warehouse to Canada, we are still looking into how we're going to deal with that. We don't have a clear answer yet. Sorry. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Next question. Is it possible to encode only the RFID inlay? Answer is yes. So you don't need to
Yes.
print. We do have customers that run on metal tags, for example, through the printer and don't print. They only encode. We have customers that run rolls of clear inlays through the printer and they only encode them. These clear inlays might be dropped into a box of shoes or sewn into a garment. If you're using the clear inlays, you do need some kind of separator between the inlays, a separator in terms of the printer's brains need to know where one inlay, one tag ends and the next one begins. So if you're going to run clear inlays through the printer and only encode them, you need to get those clear inlays with a black mark separator. Not all inlay companies offer that, but some do. So you need to make sure that the inlay company will offer the clear inlays with a black separator. Okay, there's somebody for you to contact, Jose. I'm looking through the
That's
question.
good.
Okay. Does the printer support block write? If yes, how many words can it write at once? The answer is yes. We've just implemented that recently. And the second part of the question is, if yes, how many words can it write at once? It writes, and I'm not sure I got this right, so I'll take your name down and I'll follow up on this. But the tag chip defines how many words a block is. And there's a few common values, I think like 6 words or 8 words, something like that. So we can write however many words are defined or definable as a block by that tag chip. And I will confirm that and get back to you. Is any printer can encode HF tag? So the person basically wants to know if everything we've talked about today has been UHF, passive RFID, normally known as RAIN RFID, but there are other flavors of RFID out there. HF NFC is one of those. We do not have an HF NFC printer yet. We are probably going to release one, no promises. There is one other brand that does have an HF printer. I will refrain from giving you their name, but as far as I know, there's only one other brand out there with an HF printer. Okay, we've got questions still coming in. What adjustments do you need to make to the printer when you switch to a different label type? If you can remember from the presentation portion, basically you load a label type into the printer, and the first time you load that label type in there, you need to run through these calibrations, the non-RFID calibration and the RFID calibration. At the end of that, you save those settings in what we call a configuration, and you can custom name the configuration. And we can save up to 8 different configurations. So if the labels have been calibrated already and those settings have been saved in a configuration, then the only, in quotes, adjustment you need to make is to select that configuration from the printer to work with that label type. The configuration can be selected from the front panel or programmatically and or via a header in the print job. So the configuration can be selected dynamically by software. There are no screwdriver adjustments, no different firmware. You don't need to raise the print head or lower it. It's all spring loaded and operated, so the printer takes care of everything. So to answer the question, you just need to select the correct configuration. Okay. Does the block write feature would be available via firmware update or upgrade? Yes. So you might have one of our printers that has an older firmware that does not yet support the block write. So you can just contact me and I'll give you the latest firmware. I'll have to don't go to our website to get the latest firmware. That's a long story. I won't get into it here. Come to me and I'll get you the firmware for your specific printer model that will support the block write. Oh, here's a good one. I've been waiting for this one. Do the printers carry out any QC checks? For example, TID parity or impinges margin read function, etc. Yes, they do carry out QC checks, and we have various algorithms to QC the tags, make sure that the correct encoding was done to the correct tag. So the basic answer is yes. The longer answer is no RFID printer company, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise, can 100% guarantee that the correct value was encoded to the correct tag. We are working on a possible solution to that, but it has to involve a visual inspection of the tag. So if I'm printing a barcode with 1, 2, 3, I need to know that to that printed tag was also encoded the corresponding value. So the only ultimate QC check that can really do that is something that checks both the printed and the encoded. And we're working on that. And yes, we do check the TID in one of our algorithms. I don't know what impinge's margin read function is. Sorry. Sorry, I'm looking through the questions because we've covered groups of these. What is the read success rate on the tags? What would be best for a box with small metal vehicle parts? Are you able to read all tags? Jose, would you like to take that? So what's the read success rate on the tags? That's one of those no clear answer ones. And the second part is what would be the best tag for a box with small metal vehicle parts?
That's a very, very good question, right? It's like let's separate in two parts. The first one you said is what is the success rate, and it's 100%. And all the information can be found in our on our product guide, where is what mentioned is in a ideal environment, right? The reality is that when we are in the field, there are an infinite numerous variables that can be is noise pollution, size of the asset, uh, uh, the structures in between the reader and the asset. But if you ideally are in the reach range, right, between uh, the asset and the reader, the success rate should be 100%. All our RFID tags are depending on the field conditions, right, and the surrounding environment. All our RFID tags, they're inspected prior shipping. So we meet ISO 9001 and 14001, which for environment. So if depending and on the reader and the antenna setup, I can assure you that there's 100% success rate because our product have the highest quality assurance when they're produced and shipped to our clients. The next question was, and let me rephrase it, is Chris, what is a recommended tag, basically, if we have vehicles inside the box? I think that we need to know more about like the details, so then I can get an image and more the details, so then I can recommend the RFID tag or the label for that.
So what are the exact dimensions of the box? What's the exact application? Where would the readers be? Where would the tag go on the box, etc.? Correct?
Agree. Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, we have some other quote questions here, people asking us to contact them. We will contact you. I think we've gone through all the questions. I do need to get back to the person or people on the block right specifics. I will do that, but that should be everything. So you can see our contact information there on the screen. Please feel free to reach out to me or Jose. And we thank you very much for attending today, and we hope to work with you in the future. Jose?